I would like to introduce Tsvetelina Mladenova. She has 9 experience in web development and digital session. She specialized in building interactive, accessible, and purpose-driven websites. She had led development teams, collaborated with creatives and agencies, and now works independently to craft experiences that feel as good as they function.
Hi, everyone. I think this is my cue. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Just give me a second to get everything started. So today's topic, as mentioned, is animating with intention, scrollytelling with GSAP and accessibility in mind. And why exactly I formulated it like this is because animations are great. They give websites a lot of interactivity, a lot of life, but also really need to be intentional about it and not just put them everywhere. Some websites thrive with more animations, and some websites just animations don't belong there. So it's really important to just decide based on the case. And also another reason is user friendliness and accessibility. It's very important to me, so I'm going to mention it a few times during this talk. So just prepare yourself for that. So let's go ahead and check what you can expect from me today during these next few minutes. I will start by telling you a little bit more about myself. Then we'll go ahead and speak about what exactly is GSAP, how it's used and what it does. Then I'm going to go ahead and share the idea behind my portfolio website. What made me decide to go with that exact topic, that exact direction of the design and animations. And while doing that, I will guide you through the code. I don't share my code with everybody, so you're consider yourself lucky to be able to get a glimpse into that world. And I will show you firsthand how I have created the smooth animations that you see on the website, and also how I kept it accessible and user-friendly. Of course, there will be a few minutes for you to ask any questions if you have such. And for those of you who stay with me till the end of this talk, I have a bonus tip that I think will be helpful, maybe for beginners, but not only, because it can make your work way faster. So, who am I? I was introduced already, but let me speak from my point of view, of course, as well. I have 9 years of experience in web development. Most of those 9 years have been spent working at a creative agency, which has really helped me develop my skills in building visually engaging websites, and also helped me get a grasp at why accessibility is important, and also why we create websites that need to be used easily by users. And I often say recently that I think when a user lands on your website, they don't need to solve a puzzle in order to get a piece of information. It just needs to be seamless and easy to do that. So at the moment I work at MailerLite, but I also do small freelance projects when I have the time, because I'm still very passionate about interactivity. And I am also happy that I get to talk about it today. It's a good exercise for me to dive back into the world of animations. So what is GSAP really? GSAP, well, it's a JavaScript library, of course, and it allows you to animate technically anything on a page, anything on the web. You can animate text, SVGs, images, just anything you can think of. And as they mention on their website, anything JavaScript can touch. And what makes GSAP so special is that it's also very performant and it's supported basically everywhere. And another important part of it is GSAP is accessibility friendly. And as I mentioned, we love that. So let me show you their website, because I think it's the best showcase of what exactly GSAP can be used for. You can see even just from the hero section, you can already see they have showcased a few ways how GSAP can be used. This, for example, is an SVG. You get different kinds of morphing effects. You can see animation of text. You can see horizontal scroll, which we're also going to see in my code. And I'm going to show you how this is done and executed. It's a nice effect for most types of websites. So as I told you before, you can virtually animate anything, anything on scroll, any SVG, any text, all kinds of UI interactions as well. So yeah, it's a good tool to have under your belt if you are a web developer. If we go back to the presentation, let me tell you about my website, my portfolio website. I'm sure anyone and everyone who has ever had to create their own portfolio website has gone through this frustration of wanting it to be perfect and wanting it to speak to the person they are, but also just, yeah, it can be a lot. So me, myself, I have went through probably 10 different iterations of a portfolio website, and only 2 of those have seen the light of day. And this one is the last one. So yeah, I think I love it the most so far. There will probably be many more, hopefully. But why I decided to make it the way it is because I wanted to combine my love for flowers and plants with my love for the web. I do design. I'm not the best designer, of course. I do simple design, but you know what helps me make it pop? That's animations. That was the thing that made a difference for me and made it so much more engaging and so much more just come to life. And it really tells a story now, I think. And that's thanks to the animations. Although I will also show you how it looks without any of those. So let's go into the interesting part, which is the code. But before going to the code, I want to share the website because, I don't know, maybe some of you haven't seen it or just need a refresher. So you can see we have a preloader in the hero section, which has an intro animation. And I'm really a strong believer in the saying that the first and the last impressions are the things that stay with people. So I really like intro animations myself because it's really opens the veil to to your website and begins the story that you're about to tell. So yeah, this is the idea of my garden beds, how I like to look at it. I like to look at it as if each section is just its own garden bed, and I am in a, I don't know, greenhouse or something like that. So you can already see from the beginning we have animations of the text. We have opacity animations, and on scroll we have these parallax effects. As you can see, the image is animating. And this block here is also slightly moving to the x-axis, which is nice. I'm going to refresh just to make sure we see the second section. When we scroll down, we have some more text animations, some more opacity animations, and we get to this section, which resembles the one on the GSAP website. It's a fixed section. It uses GSAP pin functionality. I'm going to show you in a little bit how that works. And it's a good way to showcase this type of grid and make it a little bit more engaging, a little bit more interesting. I also have this interaction here on hover, which I also have a tip for you for this one. It looks easy and seamless, but there is a caveat here. So I'm going to also share how I overcame that. This section is another type of fixed section, but it's not a horizontal scroll. It's supposed to do something different. It still grabs the attention of the user and keeps it there until it's the information is revealed, which I think is pretty cool, if I do say so myself. And we have this section, which again is just some text animations. And remember what I told you about the last impression? This is a really simple effect. It actually doesn't use GSAP at all, but the randomness of it, I find it pretty cute. But my favorite part of the website actually is hidden from the users in the beginning. And it only shows when you open the About menu, About pop-up. So you see here, we have this shadow that moves just slightly. It's not my idea. It has been done before, of course, like almost everything on the web and in design. But I really like the idea of just having the sun hit a tree or something outside and the shadow that we get inside our rooms. It makes you feel cozy. It makes you feel, I don't know, some special type of way. Reminds me of summer. So I wanted to recreate that feeling with animations, and GSAP really played a good role here. And if anyone wants to guess how I did it, what exactly I animated, is it the x-axis? Is it the y-axis? You can tell me in the chat, but I will share a little bit later. So let's go and jump into the code. As you can see, I have used the most basic of setups here because I wanted it to be fast. I wanted it to just work without having to deal with any kinds of frameworks or anything like that. But it's important to, of course, mention that GSAP works just perfectly with those as well. It works with React. It's, no big deal. But also, I know you should pick what works best for you. I am a believer that even though it's a good thing to keep up with technologies, it's not, you're not always supposed to just take the latest one and roll with it. You can choose your own path and just use what is working for you. So here I have plain old HTML. I have some styles, and these are my functions. So this is basically everything that is creating the effects that you see on the website. And I'm going to go through each of these. Maybe the first one will be more detailed because in the first function, you already see most of the GSAP functionalities and how everything works. And yeah, and after that, a few of these things just repeat themselves. So it's nothing too complicated. So this is actually the intro animation. If you remember, we first have the preloader, and then we have the hero section animation. And I won't explain the whole concept of GSAP because I don't have the time for that. But in GSAP, there is this thing called timelines. And timelines are, you can imagine it as string of animations that you can just line up one after the other. And it's an easy way to just create a flow with animating different elements on your page or on your section, one by one after the other, or you can make one of those come a little bit faster, as you see in a while. So we create a timeline and we attach different animations to that timeline. And it's a good idea to first imagine for yourself, or if you have directions from a designer, depends on how you work, what you want to be animated and how you imagine it really to be done. If you have it in your head, it's way easier to execute it after that, just with code. So here we have the animation of the preloader. Let me give you a refresher on how that looked. We just have this this block of background color, and we have this. This is actually just an image, and I move it on the X axis. So this is what that does. And after that, after the preloader is done, you can see this doesn't work like an actual preloader. It's just an effect, but it does the job. I go ahead and animate the hero section. Here you can see the different properties that can be animated. As I mentioned, you can animate by the X-axis. You can animate scale, opacity, Y-axis, and also a good feature of GSAP is that you can stagger animations. And what this is, it's basically, it adds a little bit of delay of your elements. Like, for example, I am staggering these elements and these elements. And you can see when we reload the page how they just appear like one by one. So that's pretty useful when you want to just not have just a whole block of things animated. It makes it more dynamic. And as I mentioned, timelines, what they do is they create a string of animations. So we have this few elements that are animated, but I also have, let me just reverse a little bit. So here I have split text. Split text is pretty cool. It lets you, as it says in the name, split the text into a few different types. You can split it into lines, you can split it into words or characters. So here for this one title, I have decided to split it into words and I animate each word individually, and that makes it also a bit more, engaging rather than animating the whole thing all at once. But you can see here I have this, I'll call it property, which, what does it do? As I said, this is just a timeline, but this allows me to animate the title just a little bit before the previous animation is done. And I think this is actually one of the most important things in animating anything on the web, because it allows you to not have an empty page or an empty section while the user waits for everything to be animated one by one. You can, you have full control basically over it. But there is something I didn't mention in the beginning, and it's very important. Written like this, this function would animate everything just on page load. But if we want the animation to happen on scroll, we need to create something that is called scroll trigger. So what scroll trigger does is it's basically where you tell GSAP which block or element or section will be your trigger section for this function. It's the hero section. When you want the animation to start on scroll, and this is where you provide which timeline to be actually executed. So I know this can be a lot for someone who isn't at all familiar with any of this, but it's actually pretty intuitive and it's easy to understand once you start writing it. So it's not too scary. Another thing that we have here is animating this image, this parallax effect, which also happens on scroll, as you can see. How we do that? We create a scroll trigger again, which tells GSAP that we want this thing to be animated on scroll. But unlike our previous section, where the animation just happens once and it's not controlled by the scroll, this one here, it actually is controlled by the scroll. You see, whenever I scroll up and down, the image scales according to how much I have scrolled. And we accomplished that by this simple property that is scrub. Yeah, it basically tells GSAP, I want this to be attached to the scroll of the user. And that's what guides the timeline here. And the one thing that I'm animating here is just the scale from its initial scale to just 1.1. That's the whole section. That's the whole function that does that magic. It's the same for the hero banner. It's this thing here. It also moves on scroll. It's almost on the, maybe you won't notice it, but I think it makes a big difference because it creates this kind of depth that you might not get otherwise. So it's the same logic, basically, except that we are not animating the scale, but we are animating the y-axis. Yeah, so there is that for this one. The about section is basically repeats itself. So I might not go into too much details here because it has the same properties that are animated. We have the opacity again, we have the width. The width here is the width of this underline, which animates from 0 to just 100, and it creates, I also like to, if I animate something, I animate everything. If I leave something not animated, it kind of feels like it's hanging there, and it can be weird. So I prefer animating everything on the page. So even this circle here has just a scale effect. And yeah, it's the same. Where it gets a little bit more interesting again, it's the project section, where I mentioned that this is a fixed section and it uses GSAP pin for creating this section. You can see, looking from the client side, from the front end, it's nothing to, you can't tell really what's going on behind the scenes. But what's going on behind the scenes is we again create this scroll trigger. We give it the section that is triggering the whole animation. We tell it when to start, which is when the section is fully in the viewport, when the top of the section touches the top of the screen. That's when the pin starts. And here is actually the thing that makes a difference. We pin this section, and pin spacing, what pin spacing does, it adds some padding at the bottom of this section so that actually, how do I explain that? When you're here on this section, you can't see it, but below this section, there is a lot of space, a lot of empty space, which when you scroll, it just moves a little bit up. And when you get to the end of this horizontal scroll, you can actually just get seamlessly to the next section. And GSAP does that for you. If we didn't have this small block of code, we would have to calculate the whole thing with JavaScript, which, you know, we don't need to do that. And here, I don't have a timeline. I have a GSAP animation. What it does is it just moves the whole container here, this whole block, it moves it on the x-axis to the left on scroll, and it moves it with as much value as the height of this section. So I call it height because, yeah, it's basically height. If you look at it through this lens, it's kind of the width. But anyway, we get the idea. And you can see it's pretty short block of code, but it also just does all the job for you, basically, on the behind the scenes. So yeah, that's about this one. And let me jump into the awards section, but it's not this one. What I wanted to show you is the hover of these rows of text here. I mentioned that there is something here that makes a huge difference. You can see when I hover on each row of text, these different images with awards pop up. And when I leave the text, they disappear. And GSAP has magic for that as well. We have this property here, override true, and I won't explain what it does. I will show you what it actually does. If I just comment it out and refresh the page and go again fast through each row of text, you see what happens. It's a mess because some of the awards, they just don't disappear. They just stay there. And that happens because once you hover on a row of text, we animate the properties of those images. We animate the scale and the opacity. And when we leave, we don't clear that. So we don't clear it fast enough, I mean. So that stays, and it's kind of buggy. And again, just one-liner solution with that is just override true, which it basically clears the animated properties for you, so you don't have to worry about it, which is pretty sweet. And it's an easy way to do it. I remember the times before we had this when GSAP was green sock, and it wasn't fun. So I wanted to show you that. Maybe you would appreciate it. Another cool animation, another cool functionality of GSAP, I would say, is flip animation. I think it's the recent most favorite for me, for sure, because it is really, again, pretty seamless and pretty cool, and it works out of the box for you. So what is flip actually? Let me just try to explain it in plain language before I show you and confuse you with any code. What it actually does, if you want to animate element from one state or one position to the other state or other position, usually you need to do all of those calculations again with JavaScript, and you need to calculate the position and the width and the height and the dimensions of the element in the initial state, and you need to calculate the position and dimensions of the element in the end state, and just animate the transition between those two states. And you can tell by just me talking about it that it can be a lot of work if you have to do it for yourself. And Flip does that for us, and it does it here for me on this section. I know I didn't need to use Flip for this. There was another way for sure. I could just animate the scale and the flip mask of this image. But it works for me because it creates this effect of depth again. When you just scroll and you see how the image scales a little bit, and you also see just how it enlarges itself. And when the flip animation is done, or almost done, you get those blocks of text pop up. How does that look in the code? It looks a little bit more messy, but it's what I just explained, basically. Just before we begin doing anything, we clear all the properties again, because we want to make sure that we don't have anything that interferes with our animation. Then we get the initial state of the element that we want to animate. So in our case, it is this one. This is the initial state. And in this specific case, all I do is I just move the image from one container, which is this small container here. I move the image with just appending it to a big container, which is the end state here. And I create a flip animation. This is that. This is the basic flip animation is actually pretty short. It is a bit more complicated because I do it again on scroll, and that's why we have this block of code here. And that's why initially it's just paused the animation. And we start it when the user gets to the service section. When the service section is in the viewport, basically. I start the flip animation, and these things here on update, they're here just to help me animate it back and forth, just to have this, to be able to reverse it when I scroll up. So yeah, it's actually not too much of a work for this kind of effect. I think it's worth it. Am I missing something here? I don't think so. We also, as I mentioned, we reverse everything that we have previously animated, just to make sure that when we scroll back up, we have this initial state. We can leave it at the end state, but I think it looks better like this for this one. So that's why I have this functionality here on enter back, which means when you exit the section and when you go back from the bottom, that's what enter back is doing. You just reverse the timeline. So that's it. Simple as that. Another thing, the footer flowers. I mentioned they don't use GSAP, but it's still pretty cool effect, I think, because it's mostly because it's randomized. As you can see, when I hover, each time I hover the email address, flowers change their position. I mean, it could have been a little bit more interesting if I have actually changed position. They just swap places. It still works for me. It does the job. Yeah, and the actual animating here is just happening with CSS transitions. And here I just add a class randomly. Oh, and one thing I think I'm missing is random. Yes, GSAP has a lot of utility functions. I haven't used many here just because I didn't need to, but you can look it up because they also solve a lot of problems and give just additional touch of opportunities. So here, for example, I have used a random utility function, which I use it for the awards section again. What it does is each time I hover, it animates the elements in different order. So it looks a little bit more, interesting. So for sure, you need to look at different utility functions on GSAP. And GSAP has a ton of documentation that is just goes through everything, and you can find anything you might need over there. And the one thing that I really mention that I like on this website is this animation. So I asked previously, what do you think is animated here? Well, basically, a few things, just to make it look a bit more, just natural, because when the wind blows, branches don't really go in one direction. So I wanted it to be the closest to that as possible. So I actually animated a few things to get that effect working for me. I animated the element by the X and Y axis, and I gave it a little bit of rotation, which is it moving now? Should be, but it's pretty slow because it should be slow. Yeah, and I think that makes a huge difference. Also, with GSAP, of course, just as you can do with CSS animations, you can repeat the animations indefinitely, and you can also create a yo-yo effect, which is just run the animation back and forth indefinitely. So that's what this does. And about accessibility, how did I incorporate a little bit of accessibility here with the help of GSAP? So GSAP also has this thing called MatchMedia, which you basically can use it for different purposes. It's not only this one. You can also detect different resolutions and different window widths with it, but you can also check for different settings the user might have turned on. And in my case, I check for if the user has turned on prefers reduced motion or not. And here you can see that all of the animating is wrapped in this function, and it only runs if the user hasn't checked on that function. Because, some people prefer not to have jumpy websites with a lot of flashy elements and stuff like that. And we should be aware of that, and we should provide that option for them. And this is basically the easiest way to do it. And how we can test it is we can emulate it on the browser by just inspecting the page. We're looking for the rendering tab. If you can't find it, you can find it here on by clicking on the three dots and going to more tools. And here we're searching for a select field that is prefers reduced motion. And if we click that and enter that mode, if I refresh the page, you can see that we don't have the preloader, we don't have the intro animations, and we don't have any of the jumpy stuff that we used to have. And it just seamlessly stops all of that. If we want to go a little bit more advanced on this, we could have created a whole different design for this section as well. We could have just turned off the horizontal scroll, and this could be a grid. And we could do that with the CSS media query, which basically does the same. If we have not specified prefers reduced motion option, we just add the styles here for that. And otherwise, we just add the different styles. So having both the CSS media query and the MatchMedia check for this, it's super easy to accommodate just different needs for different types of users. And it doesn't take much, but it really makes a huge difference. So I would really be happy if more people did this, because as I said, it for sure creates a big difference for that. So yeah, I think that's about it when it comes to code. Of course, I didn't go too much into the details, but I think I don't need to do that for this session. And I also mentioned that I will review just some tip for you. It's nothing crazy, but it's this collection of effects that is done by some people. I'm not affiliated with any of this, of course, but I think it's super useful. And if you want to start creating GSAP animations fast and not just any animations, I think these are pretty good. You can just download the whole collection and be able to just use these in your project, portfolio, or whatever. Of course, now that you have a better understanding of GSAP, you could easily use these different codes for that. So yeah, I think we're to the point where we get your questions if you happen to have any. Maybe let's look at the chat.
Great work, Tsvetelina. Your portfolio looks amazing, and I think we all are inspired to experiment with GSAP. We do have a few questions in the chat, and the first is, do we have to be proficient in JavaScript to use GSAP?
Well, proficient, no. You for sure have to have JavaScript knowledge, because I mean it uses JavaScript, but you don't have to be proficient really. You can accomplish it by not going into much details. As you can see, it just does most of the things for you out of the box, and it actually eliminates a lot of calculating and a lot of yeah. So no, short answer, no.
Amazing. Can you recommend the best resources or courses you already shared about the build with GSAP? But can you recommend anything else for people who have no experience with GSAP?
I mean, yes. Well, basically, the main source for sure is the GSAP community. They have a lot of different resources themselves. They have demos. They also have just a huge documentations that you can go and look through it. And I think you can basically get most of the things that you might need here. So this is a good starting point, I think.
Thank you. I think you mentioned this in the beginning. Can you use any framework with GSAP?
Yes, it works. It works great with React as well, as far as I know. Of course, Animate.js, I think that's what it was called, is a little bit more incorporated into frameworks, but the GSAP is working pretty good with that.
Thank you. Another question from Anju. She's wondering if there are any big websites that use GSAP animations right now, like famous websites. Are you aware of any?
Oh yeah, a lot of websites use GSAP. You can see in their showcase there are many different websites. I think also a lot of big companies. I won't name any at the moment because I don't want to be, incorrect in that. But yeah, it's used in a lot of places, and right now they have a really good symbiosis, if I can call it that, with Webflow. It's integrated super well with Webflow, and a lot of people create websites with Webflow at the moment. So it's, yeah, you will see it more and more, I think.
That's wonderful. And Alia is asking, what was the toughest bug or issue you encountered while implementing GSAP animations in your vanilla JavaScript portfolio, and how did you resolve it?
Well, maybe the two most annoying things, if I will call it that, were that thing with the pop-up of just the awards images. It can be annoying, especially if you're not too deep into the documentation of GSAP. And another thing is the reverse animation. See, it's broken now. Anyway, yes, the reversing of this timeline animation on scroll back, it was a little bit tricky to do and to work every time without it being buggy. So I think that was the most challenging, if I can call it that.
I can imagine how this can be frustrating. Another question from Agatha: does GSAP support responsive design? Can I use relative values like percentage instead of fixed values such as 10 pixels?
Yeah, of course. It actually, I suggest you don't use fixed values. It works perfectly with different resolutions. And you can also create different animations for your mobile version. For example, if, because, this horizontal scroll section, it can't be, or it shouldn't be horizontal scroll on mobile. So you can just go ahead and use MatchMedia and create a different kind of animation for lower resolutions. But also GSAP has this, I think it was, invalidate on refresh, which basically what it does is when you resize your screen, it's automatically recalculates the values for you so that everything actually looks good. So yeah, it's great in that sense.
Amazing. And Alexander is asking, do you have tips so that you don't end up adding too much animations into a website?
The most important tip, I think, is to consider the purpose of your website. That's why I say you should be mindful with animations when it comes to adding it to your website. If you want the website to be just used mainly for information purposes, you shouldn't be overwhelming with your animations because users do get frustrated, and it's not a good idea. So the first thing for sure is just make sure you understand the idea behind the website, who is your target group, and what is the value that you want to bring with the website. And don't use animations in such a way that they prevent the user from getting to the piece of information that they want to get to. That's really gold advice.
Very good advice. Thank you so much. We don't have any more questions, but I do want to ask you something because you are a very experienced web developer. But if you have to start now, because a lot of our members are just starting their web development journey, do you think that you should do something different what will be your approach for finding clients, for building your personal brand if you are starting now?
Well, it is for sure. I won't call it difficult. I would call it challenging, because the times are challenging right now. My biggest advice is for everything really is just to kind of try to be true to yourself and try to find what is really your kind of things. Just a clear example is this version of my portfolio. I think I like it the most just because it speaks to me, and it actually shows me as a person. And I think that's one thing that helps you get clients and work, is just to be kind of authentic and not just post on LinkedIn something random with the hopes of someone noticing, but just share things that you yourself find helpful. And when it comes to technologies, my advice would be to not always jump on the new trend, because at the moment there are a lot of new trends all day, every day. And you should really pick your battles well enough. So just start from the basics. If you want to be a web developer, you have to know HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and you have to be proficient in that. And anything that comes after that is just an addition to what you already know.
Very good advice. Thank you so much. Your portfolio is amazing, and your experience is very impressive, and we learned a lot from you today.
Thank you too for inviting me. It was nice to have the opportunity to share.